Okay. Uh, this actually kind of hits. I'll let Cam G talk about this fight here because he may be closer to this fighter than we most. You know, the whole they call it 6 degrees of separation.
Right, right. Well, someone I would love to have on the show that was they call him Bulletproof on YouTube.
Bulletproof.
Got a lot of one of those guys that has a lot of social media content and YouTube sparring that is on online and fought Chris Billon Smith, and it was a great fight. Very hard 12 fight. I believe it was yes, unanimous decision. But I mean, looking at Billon Smith after the fight, he was kind of busted up, had a cut, he had some swelling going on, and just looked like another day um, at the office for Brandon Glanton. I really thought he could have made this fight a little closer. To avoiding some of the clinching that Billon Smith was doing to stifle his offense. Already smothered his work just a little bit because he clearly to me looked like to be the stronger guy. I think Billon Smith just used a little bit of savvy and skill to get some close rounds in order to get the unanimous decision. But that was another great fight on the undercard. So that's Bulletproof Brandon Glanton out of Atlanta. Uh, fighting another fight overseas. He's had like 4 or 5 fights, in Russia, France, the UK. So my man is out here getting it. So salute to him. I'm sure the UK fans appreciated his performance.
Yeah, that was another great fight. This was like warrior style fighting. Like, I believe the UK fans saw what Brandon Glanson did, and they love it. They like when you with that fan base, you don't lose. If you show up, show out, win or loss, as long as you put everything on the line, you don't lose. And I just remember when the fight was done, two fighters just locked and hugged and thank you for bringing that out of me. And they were like respecting each other, and I'm like, yeah, that was a great mix up, and really and truly, um, I didn't. Do you agree with the unanimous decision on Billum Smith's side? I think it was. I don't know about that scorecard, but it was a lot close. I mean, it was a battle to say the least, and Brandon Bulletproof did a great account for himself. It wasn't just I wouldn't call it a unanimous decision. Yes, Willem Smith won, but not unanimous from my viewing. But again, I could have been alone on that.
Yeah, it was some close rounds for sure. I just think personally because he was on the front foot the entire fight. I think he just smothered a little bit of his work and he landed into some eye popping shots like that would disengage from a clinch. Brandon Glenn would go back to re-engage, and Chris Billon Smith was waiting with a hard uppercut or a hook. And I think those things that you can steal rounds that way just because it catches the judge's attention. So and he landed several of
Yeah.
those in the second half of the fight.
Talk about smothering work. I'm gonna go back and talk about the main fight, right? Um, do you think that was a strategy that the corner of Chris Eubank Jr. were like, bro, the jab is not working. He's moving fast. How about keep it close range, put that weight on him, lean on him, clinch on, I mean, clinch on corner bend, make him tired, make him push you off because that gets him tired, and work him with body shot head, and that's how you're gonna win this fight. Do you think that? Because now that you said that, I'm now starting to see, could that be a strategy where if your jab work is because the jab was just so slow and corner could telegraph it and see it like, oh, and
I just think that was a gut check type of thing. Legs were tired. He had been caught. It was just time to mash on the gas. That was a heart and grit
so
more than I think. actual strategy in the Bill and Smith Glenn fight. I do think Glenn, like he bulletproof, he fights that way. He's a straightforward type of guy. I just think when you're trying to employ that type of strategy, you have to leave room so that your inside work doesn't get smothered. A little bit of room, like a
Yeah.
1 inch, 2 inches of
Mhm.
space, can allow a hook to inflict a lot of damage or just land if you're
Yeah.
smothering the shot. So I think in the
Yeah.
Eubank fight, it was more of like a gut check. In the
Gotcha.
Glenn fight, that is a typical strategy of his. And I think what you saw in the Eubank fight with his range, he was able to land, get close and land hard hooks and uppercuts.
Yeah.
Um, and then Glenn fight, you saw hard hooks land. They just
Right.
didn't always land with that same authority because he was
Right.
so close.
And Glenton was his strategy of, yes, he's smother, he's cutting you off, he's really close to you, but he had that little thing. Even he didn't clinch, but even in a clinch, he had that little pop to create space, and then he was just quick, hook body, head, hook, but he had that little thing where he pushed a little bit while you, like you said, Chris Eubank Jr.'s legs were done. He was just pretty much locking dude's arm.
But the difference was he was able to land shots that made us go, oh, which in pro boxing that matters. Whereas in Glenn, we didn't see that enough in the later half of the fight. So
Yeah,
where he's so close that he's throwing these shots that are landing, but they're not eye catching to the
I
audience
can.
or the judges. Then when they disengaged, what happened? Bill and Smith, he was, as Glenn went to close the gap again without using his jab, boom, he's getting caught with lead uppercuts
Yeah,
or hooks, and those things were, I think, a lot more noticeable. Bill Smith had to use a lot of uh, tactics to keep him off of him. When one of them was he did a lot of holding. So
hmm
I always think there's always ways to counter the counter. The counter for Bill Smith was to grab and hold. To
right.
counter that, I feel like bulletproof Brandon Glenn could have denied that aspect of his game a little bit, and to do that. So yeah, you saw that strategy in a couple different fights,
Right.
and you saw Eubank use it
Yeah.
to really just give his last, and
Yeah.
Glenn was able to use it, but maybe not as effective, obviously, with the unanimous decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's it's a scary strategy, but it works. It works for some people, that just like to fight in that close range. LT calls it the telephone booth.
That's
You
right.
just you're just in that space where like we saw old boy at the LA whatever, I forgot his last heavyweight, how he knocked out dude from a clinch with just dude was not watching the dude's hand or covering a possibility of dude hitting you. You clinching, but you're not really locking dude. And dude, they knock dude out like that. So the very scary thing to do if you want to fight in those close proximities, but you have to have awareness of how to either defend really well or how to counter if they're trying to hit you. But salute to the people that do that. But